Hello, this is a video I am making about my daughter's journey. On the 14th of January, I went into labor. When I got to the hospital, I was 3 centimeters. I had a pretty easy labor. I didn't get an epidural and it was extremely painful, but I didn't really have any complications. And I got there around 7 p.m. and then they wanted to let me labor overnight before they did any other intervention. So in the morning, they broke my water. I started Pitocin. I didn't get an epidural or anything like that, but they broke my water at 8 and she was born at 11:51 in the morning. And she was born. Everything went relatively well. I didn't tear like I did with my son. And then they took us to a postpartum recovery room and my husband had to go home and be with my son, so it was just me in the room. And a few hours went by and she wouldn't eat and she was just very still and kind of purple looking. And so I kept asking for the nurse to look at her, and the nurse kept telling me that it's normal because she's a newborn. And then finally, they took her to the warmer in the nursery to try to help her color. And when she was in there, they heard a heart murmur. And so at the hospital that I was at, they don't have a NICU or anything, so they had to get the ambulance and take her to a different hospital so they could do a little bit more investigating to see what was going on. And at that point, I wasn't even 18 hours postpartum yet, so I had to stay at the hospital. And so they took her, and by 7 a.m. the next day, she was already having surgery, and they were trying to help her heart. And so for a little bit, that surgery really helped. She got to come home when she was 2 weeks old, and she was at home for 2 weeks. Then she had her follow-up appointment at the hospital, and they did an echo, which is a heart scan, and they saw that things had severely gotten worse. So they admitted her again right away. We had to go home without our daughter, and that was really hard. And within the time frame of her being readmitted, they had to put her into a medically induced coma because she was just working too hard and her heart wasn't working. And at this point, she was still too small to do the surgeries that they wanted to do, so they were just trying to make it last as long as it could. And she ended up going on the heart transplant list. A few weeks after that, she got a respiratory infection, so they had to pause her spot on the transplant list. And from there, things got pretty critical, and so she had to get through that time of being sick with her respiratory infection and before she could go back on the list. And then over the last 2 weeks, they decided that they were going to attempt a surgery to attach a pump to her heart. It's an open heart surgery, and hopefully it would make everything a lot better. And so the issue is that she's just so weak from these 3 months of her life, and so there's really no way of knowing if she was even going to make it through the surgery. Well, so today is Thursday, and on Monday she had her first open heart surgery, and overall the surgery went well, but she just has multiple heart defects. And so essentially connecting her heart to the pump, it's not going to fix everything when there's other issues going on. And so that pump's going to effectively pump the blood for her, but she still doesn't get good circulation, and a lot of her other parts of her heart are still really weak. So they are considering maybe taking her back for another surgery, but right now the main thing is just trying to keep her stable so she can make it to transplant, as well as when you're in heart failure, severe heart failure, and you're oxygen isn't flowing very well. She's not getting that much oxygen to her brain, so that's another big concern right now, and that's been prolonged for a few days. So they're keeping an eye on everything and doing the best they can, but these last 3 months have been pretty hard. I have a toddler and he can't go up onto the intensive care unit, so it's just kind of been all over the place. My husband's in the military, so we're pretty far away from family, and we're just doing everything that we can. But she is very strong, and we're gonna see. It's really day by day, but these last 3 months have been a blur for sure.